People completely disagree with me, think it's invasive, inaccurate, and quite frankly, wrong. Frank Furedi, where are you on it?
I'm ambivalent because I recognize that facial recognition has got an important role to play in crime prevention. But then I also worry about China, for example, where facial recognition is used very systematically as a form of social control. And I really worry when, basically your privacy becomes compromised by the fact that somebody is watching you all the time. I think there's also another problem, which is probably in many ways an even bigger problem, which is that in many jurisdictions, facial recognition technology is being outsourced to private companies. And when private companies have such an incredible amount of influence and power over what you're doing, then the potential for its abuse is quite considerable. So I would suggest, at the very least, we've got to get private companies out of there. It's not their role to kind of watch us and play that kind of sort of regulatory role. But more importantly, on balance, despite its effectiveness, I do think that we should really scale this down. Because although people will say we're not China, we're a democratic society, once you begin to use this, there's always a temptation to use it more and more and more. And one day we may well wake up and realize that we're now living in Shanghai rather than in London.
What do you make to that? A few of you, by the way, are mentioning China, picking up on that exact same point in the inbox that you mentioned, worried that we're heading towards a kind of big brother state, social credit systems. Have you seen a lot of what they do in China? Pretty much so much of your life is all then fed into a centralised database that really does impact basic aspects of your life going forward. Where do you stand on it, Jo?
Well, I think it's very worrying. I mean, I think most of us can remember debates about CCTV, but we all know and recognise that actually they are incredibly useful and have brought people to justice and do, in some cases, make people feel safer. This is going further. This is about analysing not just people's face and their facial recognition. It's about the way they walk. It's about the way they move. It's about their eyes. Now, you can choose to use it on your phone. Some of us use it on passports, iris recognition. There are many things. But we don't know who's using it. I mean, you can say, OK, it's the police. Well, we know there are questions about the trustworthiness of the police, as we just heard in the news report about the new Met Commissioner who's going to have to deal with all of that. But as Frank says, private companies. There are areas, around the country. King's Cross in London, for instance, 67 square acres, which is a sort of public-private partnership all around the St Pancras King's Cross area where facial recognition is used. Who keeps that? Who sells it? Who uses it? What else are they going to use it for? And I think it's very worrying. And it's not just us in the UK. I mean, this has come from a report by Matthew Ryder, QC, who was Deputy Mayor of London and a very well-respected barrister. But in America, they've called for a moratorium on this. In some states, they've actually stopped it completely until there are laws in place. And I think, as is so often the case, technology moves at a pace far faster than legislation can keep up with it. So maybe the thing to do is to say, all right, we're not going to do this until we've got some laws and some safeguards, because it's too dangerous.